Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and what am I so afraid of? Sharks. I'm really afraid of sharks. Not in the like, oh, it's funny to get a little scared, in the I might have a panic attack if you start humming the theme song of Jaws while I'm on a cruise ship kind of way. But why is this relevant to Dyepot Weekly? The sponsor of today's video, Baron, requested that I dye some shark and ocean inspired yarn. And I'm actually really excited to do that. Mainly because I'm not actually swimming with sharks. I have nothing against the creatures as it exists. I am merely afraid of the unknown and the surprises, and knowing that they have probably been near me when I can't hear or see them just scares me. But I can have fun with it because I am not currently in the water, and nor am I about to go swimming, so yay. Baron, don't feel bad at all for the request. I think that this is a fun opportunity to share a little bit of something about myself that otherwise I probably wouldn't be bringing up here. But yeah, it's just a fun fact about me. While I am deathly afraid of sharks, I do believe in supporting our ocean ecosystems, and am a big supporter of the New England Aquarium. That's even where we got married, and I fully support all of their conservation efforts, even including those that have to do with sharks. I didn't pull up any photos of sharks, but this is sort of what I sketched when I started thinking about the colors I wanted to incorporate in today's video. When selecting these colors, I wanted to pick things that I think would look beautiful if they all mixed together, but also work well together separately. So the main colors I'm going to be playing with today are Dharma Pecan Brown, Frozen, Silver Gray and True Black, and Jacquard Brilliant Blue. In my dedicated dye pot, I have 16 cups of water, and I'm adding 4 tablespoons of white vinegar to be the acid source. When you're dyeing yarn with acid dyes, you need to make sure that you're using a protein-based yarn. Wool, alpaca, silk, even nylon has a similar chemical structure. But you don't want to do this technique on cotton or synthetic fibers like acrylic or polyester, because you really just won't get the pigments as intended. Today we are going to dye 200 grams of Knit Picks Stroll fingering weight yarn. This yarn is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and I'm arranging it just sort of randomly-ish. I'm wondering if I should like twist these around each other at all, so that way they have different aspects that are on top and bottom, but they are spread out and fully sort of immersed in this yarn. My plan with this full immersion dyeing, with the space dyeing, is to, once we heat up, apply color to different segments, let it spread, let it move around. But because things are a little more crowded in a pot versus a steam pan, we don't really know what's going on underneath. And I'm not going to be moving and flipping the yarn. Well, I might move the yarn a little bit, but I'm not really going to flip it. And so this is part of this shark inspiration for me, is the desperately want to know what's going on underneath you, but you can't really know, and you just have to have some element of trust. Maybe I should listen to my own advice when I start freaking out. But anyway, that is the vision for this project. If you'd like to learn more about the yarn or equipment that I'm using in this video, you can find links to everything in the video description. I even have a blog post on ChemKnits.com where I talk about all of my favorite tools and equipment and the exact things that I use personally and where you can find them. In each of these cups, I have a 1/4 cup of water. And for that sort of sand, paler brown that I sketched out, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of Dharma Pecan Brown to that 1/4 cup of water. The color is still fairly pigmented, but it should spread out nicely on the yarn. At least I hope. But maybe we'll add it a little bit at a time. For the black, I'm actually just going to add a 1/4 cup of our true black to that 1/4 cup of water, diluting it. And then with the residual that is on here, this is going to give us one of the grays. I find true black to be really, really close to silver gray, so you don't really necessarily need both, but it is a lot easier to work with the silver gray than it is to dilute the black a lot. But I just made another little gray here, and I'm actually going to add, I wasn't even sure if I was going to use frozen, but I think I'm going to add some of it, about a tablespoon. I'm curious about this color. This is going to help me get that dusty blue color that I want. Close. Let's add a little more black. Oh, that is perfect. So this blue that we've got here is beautiful, and yeah, I would say that that is pretty right on to what I am going for. Finally, I wanted a little more of a true blue, and frozen is a little too bright or neon, but I absolutely, absolutely love brilliant blue. And I don't think I need a lot of it necessarily. I'm probably going to be careful and not add a ton of black, but we, of course, will see how things go. But you can see that true blue that we have there. Here is our shark/ocean color palette that we're working with today. We will, the colors have different strengths and they might all blend together a fair amount, but I think we will create something really, really beautiful. And if we end up with white on the yarn, I won't be bummed about that either. I try to keep things pretty loose inside the pot. I want to do this in stages, so that way the colors aren't necessarily mixing together, but they each have a time to absorb a bit to the yarn. And I'm going to start here with our gray color, mainly because it is the least pigmented. I can always add more, and you can see I'm sort of helping it move a little bit, but not a lot. But also knowing that having added this, I can add the second color pretty much right now, because I know that one will absorb fairly quickly overall. Let's go in with this brown. You can see it's now spreading space-wise, and I'm helping a bit, but I'm saving some because I can always go through and add more. And as things look like they're sort of staying in their lane a little bit, then I'm comfortable going on to, ooh, this is actually, you know, I thought this was going to be like a dusty blue color. It's actually a lot more teal, which is very perfect and oceany, if that makes sense. And you can see this one's spread and is spreading in here with those tendrils a little bit further. And so now I'm going to wait, I think, 5 minutes before I go and add the next color. And that's because I want the colors to mix more on the yarn versus in the water. Because I think that that layering of color will give some fun depth and oceany dimension to it. But I'm already excited with this direction. It's killing me a little bit to not see how this is all coming together. Some blue and some here. And then give us some movement underneath by deliberately adding it to the side. I still want to add more gray, and then there's also the black that I have, but so far I like where it's going. It's different than what was in my head, but different is not bad. And I also can tell already that because of this technique, the two skeins of yarn are going to be different. Related, but different. Like one of them might have a lot more teal than the other, but that's sort of why I try to twist them in the pot to allow every color to make it onto the yarn. But at least things are striking like not too slow. So there is that. I didn't wait like a long period of time this time before coming in with some of this brown. I'm letting it layer and mix with the blue. I definitely want to give some time before I come in with the black, but I do have a little bit more gray, which I just took a little bit more of the black and just diluted it further. I wanted some more gray going on there. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely more, not quite as moody as I was thinking. Not that sharks are necessarily moody, and I'm just more thinking like the reefs and the sharks, but that's really the technique that is making me think shark-like, because we're adding all this and we're seeing this pattern and design on top, but underneath, who knows what's happening? And so that unknown and me not moving the yarn to check, just moving it slightly to help that color distribute is interesting, I will say. All right, we're gonna come in with some black I'll wait 5 minutes and then we'll come in with the black. This is so pretty. I should take a picture of this before I pretend. I don't think I'd ruin it. I should take a picture though. I still have more of that almost turquoisey blue, and then we've got our black, which I'm definitely not going to use as much, I think, as I have. So even just like that little bit is adding something. But what's nice is that I'm kind of breaking up. So here's where I really don't know what's happening down below the yarn. Like, we've added the black in just some small areas, maintaining these other colors, but really, you know, we could have some down below. I'm like, I don't know if that worked. I put some on the spoon and like, ooh, can I put it down in the center? Like, can I help it go? We'll see. We'll see. Who knows? But I like it. I think it is sharky. So a big part of my color thoughts was, I think I was sort of thinking of like the black tipped shark. So I wanted that element of black, and then I wanted some gray. And then I was thinking with some brown from something like the sand and coral colors, and then the blues for the beautiful blue of the water itself. And that's sort of where those colors came to mind. When it comes to fears, and this, like, I know that this fear is mostly irrational, because most of the time I'm not going to come into contact with a shark. I'm just not. And I can walk through like tunnels, at aquariums and stuff, but I, like, in the water, like, I mean, I love snorkeling, but I get anxiety and I feel frightened about being in the ocean. And I know a lot of that is irrational. I mean, I would have this fear of velociraptors as well, except I know that at least right now, they aren't running around, so I don't really need to worry about them surprising me. And actually, I believe velociraptors were actually a lot smaller than they were depicted in the original Jurassic Park series, so, you know, there's that too. Anyway, this is a big digression, but I don't know, I'm having a little fun talking about it. Fears aside, I am really excited with this colorway, and I'm really excited to pull it out of the pot and see what it looks like. That unknown quantity to it is always something that I enjoy when it comes to dyeing yarn. And Baron, I hope you like where things are as of right now, and I hope that you really like where things are headed, because I know that I really like the yarn. I really, really love it. It almost feels striped in the way it is right now. I'm going to reduce the heat. You could see that those bubbles were sort of bringing the yarn up to the surface. But actually, gosh, and I'm not sure how long it's been, but it looks like a lot of that color has actually cleared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the heat on low for another 15 minutes. Then we'll come back and see what this colorway really looks like. Okay, friends, it is the moment of truth. Whoa, you see that white in there? Oh, okay, let's see what we see. Oh, wow. Okay, so we're gonna see what things look like and then decide. This is actually really, really cool. I like it. I like that white in there. The question is, though, is the white too, like, unbroken up? So I think what I'm going to do, and I don't have a good spot to set these aside. Okay, I'm going to set this aside, and then we will come, once it's a tad bit cooler, we can take a closer look. But I am liking it. Yeah, we definitely got some resist from the yarn being in there. And since, I mean, I can't flip it over exactly, so we didn't know what was going on underneath. But I think we did get good color penetration underneath. The place where we didn't get the color was probably because we had twisted it a little bit. And so that gave us some white and pastel patches in the middle. But this feels, I mean, I think that if I called this shark, people would nod and be like, yeah, I see it. I see it. I hope. Baron, you are getting a Leave No Dye Behind in both of your videos. This is the same dye bath that we use in our injecting dye into a yarn cake video for the Leave No Dye Behind skein. When I can, I like to reuse dye baths over and over and over. Yeah, and it's just kind of fun to have it set up. So this dye bath has completely cooled, which is good, and that is what I want. And now we're coming in with our black dye, and I'm gonna like sort of unevenly apply this. I don't mind if there is some white behind, but I do want it to penetrate towards like the bottom. I want it to sort of go through those areas, and there can be some darker patches and some lighter patches. That is all fine, but I just didn't want to be super solid and tonal. Now I didn't want it to be super solid. I wanted there to be more tonal variation in here. Now there is plenty of acid in here, and I've got this last little bit of color. I think I'm going to wait on that. And I still have some of that tealish color that we mixed, but I think I want to wait and let this color spread where it might spread or stay where it might stay. There's really not a lot of movement in here, and I'm not sure if on camera you can see the tendrils of the dye spreading through. I think it's so cool looking. It's just sort of very, very slowly wisping through and spreading, which I think is going to look awesome. I could definitely turn on the heat now. I don't mind if things spread over the whole thing, but I know that they'll sort of sink into the yarn at some point. So I'm going to wait 5 minutes and then we'll come back. After 5 minutes, yeah, we have not like absorbed any of this really. It's sort of just, well, I don't know about not any, but some of it is sort of just hovering. Like even the tendrils are barely moving. They're just sort of staying in this suspension. Okay, so I'm torn. I could turn on the heat. I like what's happening. And then, you know, we'll do those like pops of blue in a little bit. But I'm also tempted to let it be and see what happens. I mean, it's not just cool, it's definitely cold. But I am intrigued. I am definitely intrigued. I am gonna go ahead and turn on the heat just so that way we can start. That'll help us move this forward and move it along. I know. But yeah, I do think that I want to come in. Whoa! See those colors bloom up right there? Like as soon as I turn on the heat, the dye is moving now in a way it was definitely not doing before. Whatever was happening is that it was, I mean, it definitely wasn't like a gel or something. It definitely was like staying put, and now it is moving. That is really, really interesting to me. Okay, we are gonna wait now. We're gonna wait, but, oh, that's kind of cool. We'll see how far it moves, but wow, it's not even like I stirred or anything. It was just the addition of the heat. Curious and, well, fun. All right, I'll be back in, I think, 10 minutes. I'm still quite amused by all that. There's still some of the black left, but I'm ready to add this blue color. It's going to be some subtle pops in some various areas. I'm focusing on these paler patches. This yarn also will probably be fairly asymmetric, but hopefully there will be some of this blue color throughout. Trying to deposit it. It'll be subtle, but I think it's going to look nicely in this sea of gray. And by normally I like to do lighter colors first, but doing it this way allowed me to add our pop of blue in the areas where there was currently less pigment. And what I don't know, again, I don't know what's going on beneath, so there could be some paler patches there, but I'm gonna try and not worry. There's enough movement in here that I am able to distribute the color a bit, and I like it. Anyway, I think it is really cool looking, and if we do have an issue with a really odd white patch, I have a hint more. There's a tiny bit of residual color in here. So after, I think, another 10 minutes, I will flip the yarn and we can see if we need to like spruce anything up. Goodness, I really, really like this colorway. I have been wanting to play around with higher immersion with more color saturation, and yeah, I would say I am really satisfied with this color. I could add that hint, and I don't like to leave any dye behind. What's left is truly like a little hint, but I don't want to hide what I've got with these blues. So I'm going to turn off the heat, let this cool a bit, and then I will go wash it off camera. But now in our pre-soak water, let's go ahead and wash our Sharky ocean-inspired yarn. I really, really like this, and Baron, I really hope you will too. I'm really excited by all these tones, and for all it would have been fine if there was no white left behind, I always am glad sometimes when there is. Okay, fine, there's times when I'm not glad, but in this case, I think that it works and it adds to our colorway. And yeah, I'm not seeing any bleeding. I added some dish soap, so I'm gonna rinse out all of the soap, put the yarn through my spin dryer, and then hang it up to dry. Here is our final What Lies Beneath. Is that a shark movie? I don't know. I'm not gonna Google it. But it is our Shark Sandbar Ocean-inspired colorway. We have these sandy blues, grays, a little bit of black, and the pop of bright blue to represent the water and some of the majesty and beauty that sharks do have. Especially for people who aren't as terrified as me. We got pretty good color coverage. There is a little bit of white left, but it's not super pure. There's like some hint of gray in there all around. And I love this little like pop of the blue-green. I guess it's more on the second one than the first. But this shows that we dyed these in the same pot. We had them laid out as close together and as similarly as we could. And we've got differences here from the technique. And so doing a space dyeing technique like this will give some randomness because things are more scrunched in the pot. Even if you organize it when you lay it out, there is going to be something more random than if you use a catering steam pan or if you hand paint on the counter and have things more spread out and ordered. We left no dye behind in this final skein where we layered on, we used a lot of liquid, we layered these colors on top of each other and got this sort of charcoal gray, some paler grays with this pop of blue in there. This yarn also feels very sharky to me. The other ones might be a little more ocean, a little more like you see the ocean and you see the sharks swimming past, or maybe you don't see them because they're swimming there. You don't really know where they are. But this one feels not dangerous at all. It feels, you know, sort of like a little more silent and quiet, if that makes sense. So what is space dyeing versus immersion dyeing? Fundamentally, they refer to the same thing because in both cases, you are applying dye by location and letting the fact that where you add the dye will strike some of the yarn before others to give you a variegated yarn. Immersion dyeing refers to anything where your yarn is fully immersed in water versus something like hand painting, which may refer to doing something that is a little damp but on a countertop where you might have a little more precision and control depending on the technique that you do. Low immersion dyeing is where you have a very little amount of water, say on the stovetop, and so there you will also get a lot of precision. You'll get the colors to strike close to where they land. And you could do low immersion with the technique that we did today and just have a lot less water in the pot. Today we did something that was more full immersion. There was space for the yarn to sort of spread out a little bit, so that way dye could move between the strands a little bit more than if things were more compact and the yarn was a little bit more squished together with less water. So when I say space dyed, I'm really referring to the fact that we added dye in the pot and it dyed the yarn in different spaces. But personally, I also like to use the technique when things are more compact and things end up being a little more random and a little less controlled. Although I also happen to really enjoy doing random, less controlled techniques with low immersion when things are spread out, but hopefully I'm making some sense. Baron, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode of Dyepot Weekly, and I really hope that you enjoy this shark-inspired yarn. Shark Ocean Sandbar inspired. I'm looking at the tableau. I know that you had no idea that I am terrified of sharks, and you know, since I'm far away from the ocean, I had a lot of fun with this, but I just didn't think too hard or look at any pictures. So I'm happy to say I've had no nightmares in this process. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I hope that you all enjoyed learning a fact I don't think I've ever mentioned in any video before here in this video. I had a lot of fun playing with the space dyeing technique. I haven't done this technique in a long time. It's fun to revisit things and see how what I've learned really changes the way I'm interplaying colors together in pots. Like, I have a better sense of how fast or slow colors might strike and how to achieve the results that I want on yarn. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. While you're at it, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below and let me know what colors you would have picked for a shark inspiration yarn. I mean, I think I did a really, really good job with the colors I picked. One of the most frequently asked questions I get is, Rebecca, what do you do with all the beautiful yarn that you dye? And the answer is that a lot of it ends up in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. Shopping in the ChemKnits Creations store is a fantastic way to get your hands on some beautiful hand-dyed yarn and support the content here on the channel at the same time. I would say that 99% of the yarn in the shop has been featured in some kind of video that I have filmed, and all the listings and the tags on the yarn actually have the title of the video, so that way you can go back and watch the video while you're knitting, crocheting, weaving with the yarn. In cases where a video is sponsored by a viewer, like today's is by Baron, some of the yarn will go directly to that sponsor. But today, our awesome Leave No Dye Behind skein will eventually make its way into the shop. You can find links to everything and a few other ways that you can help support the channel in the video description and iCard. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.